What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rear Naked Radio. I'm one of your hosts, Jamie Kilstein.
And I'm the other host, Drew Weatherhead, and we are happy to be here for episode number 10. This is into double digits now, guys.
Damn.
We done the thing. We done the damn thing.
This is like being Facebook official with a girl. Do you remember when like you would try to play it cool and you're like, hey, you can like have me on Facebook? Like it doesn't matter if you put like in a relationship, but also like fucking what's please.
That sounds like a you problem. I don't know.
That is a me problem. The best April Fools I ever saw on Facebook, on the internet, was they didn't say anything. Just this very known couple who was like engaged. Just all you saw when you went on Facebook is like James changed his status from in a relationship to single.
Oh, yeah.
And they didn't say anything. They just changed the status. And everyone was like, oh, my God, I'm so sorry. And then they fucking hit him with it. My brother did the most fucked up one. Like, you have a lot of siblings, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Guys, by the way, I'm just avoiding. I have a Jiu Jitsu stripper story that I feel like I'm stalling getting to because I look like a fucking idiot. But so I'm one of five. And so our humor is just so dark and fucked up because we had like a fucked up childhood, but also we're always trying to like outdo each other.
Right.
So like there was when people are like, I tried to tie my brother's shoelaces together. We're like, we told our mom that our sister had to get an abortion. Like ours were always it was always like teen pregnancy, ODs. Like it was like,
so your parents died young from anxiety.
Dude, I don't know how they're kicking. And so one year, so we just thought there was no other family shit we could do. There was no other tragedy. There was no other. And so my brother one year, it was right when America, Drew, was about to elect its first black president. Tension was in the air. My brother was working on the Obama campaign. And I got a phone call at midnight, so I don't even register it's April Fool's. And he just goes, fuck it, it happened, man. And I was like, what? They were like, fucking Obama. And he knew I would jump to somebody fucking shot Barack Obama. And so instead of like close family, he went so removed, but also like will go down in history. And like there was a good moment when I was staying at a hotel on the road somewhere that I believed our first black president was just assassinated at midnight on April Fool's. And I was just like, it was fucking insane.
Of all the days, of all the years that he was going to be assassinated on, what were the chances?
What a hilarious day to get killed on.
What an odd but real, extremely real date that he probably definitely died on.
Oh, it's so ridiculous. Hey, when do you want to, before we get into stories, there is a lot of hype by huge jiu-jitsu players all over the land about your reverse Kimura series. You want to promote or tease or?
Yeah, sure. This is coming up really soon. We've been teasing it for a while. The page Reverse Kimura has been blowing up like crazy, and it's been getting into the BJJ zeitgeist in every direction. It's pretty cool. This is something that I've been working on for about a year, specifically in a certain use of it that will become more obvious once this series drops. I've got a bit of a free demo that you can check out what I'm doing so you can kind of understand before you get the paid series, which is going to be very, very intensive, but easy to digest. I know that Jamie's looked at, a few other people have had some beta access.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you say the zeitgeist, it reminds me, I just wrote on my own, you didn't even ask, this like big press blurb thing. I'm so sorry, like started off making fun. It was literally like, I thought Drew was a weak Canadian. But when I started seeing you use it in sparring, you were like sending me clips and you're like, I think this is something. I was like, he's fucking people up. But when you say the zeitgeist, it does remind me not to like blow you up too much where it puts pressure on you. But like whenever something new comes into the game, you know, like, oh, why everyone's heel hooking now? Like this, like it's gonna be another thing that people are like, fuck. Like even if you don't use it, like actually, my heel hook, my footlock game is not great. And I was coaching at Henzo, LA, and trained with Danaher a bunch, and you know, really good friends with Gary and stuff like that. And I'm like, maybe this just isn't my game. I'm not good at learning it because I'm super dyslexic. And so, Danaher, when he talks, you're just like, I guess this is smart because of his accent. But a lot of times it's almost like too detailed for me. But learning it and being there for so long, I'm very hard to heel hook. So even though I don't have the best offensive game, like guys, especially like white belts and blue belts, when you're looking at something and you're like, this isn't going to be my game, still see what you can take out of it. And I feel like that's going to be with the reverse Kimura, where it's like, fuck, even if I don't use this,
you gotta know it.
I gotta figure. Yeah, totally.
The same thing happened with Barambolos when they became fad back in like 2010, 2012.
Oh, people were furious.
Well, like, they still are.
Fuck is this shit?
I'm so glad I didn't come out with Barambolo. Reverse Kimura seems a whole lot less intrusive on people's sensibilities. But when that happened, it split the community right down the middle. And there were people who absolutely loved it, absolutely hated it. But what both sides had to do was learn it, because the people who didn't learn it were getting fucked up by it.
Oh, dude, Gianni Grippo was one of my main training partners.
Yeah, there you go. He's one of those guys.
And you're just like, could you look at the Barambolo and you go, well, that's stupid. And then as it's happening to you, you just feel crazy. You're like, am I lifting off? Like it feels fucking insane.
Yeah, there was a specialist that I trained with down at Drysdale's once, who he just specialized in this Barambolo, and I could tell exactly what he was doing. I was a purple belt. I knew what I was doing at that point. I knew what he was doing. Yeah. I couldn't stop it, and he looked bored while it was happening. It was so easy.
I only rolled with a Meow Brother once. I don't even know which one it was. But
Nobody does.
I was like, oh, I wonder if he's going to try to Barambolo me. And instead he tried to like break my fucking jaw with a rear naked choke. And I was like, you guys have rage. But yeah, Gianni, what was so cool is my defense is still, I just fucking take their leg and just straight arm the fuck out of it. And because I was always doing it with Gianni, there really is something, man, psychological, when you can just tell yourself, no one's gonna do this to me. You know what I mean? Where I'm just like, like Gianni did this to me every fucking day. So now when someone tries it, I can just straight arm their leg. And even if it's just a really simple defense, psychologically, I'm just like, fuck you. Like, this isn't gonna, like, one of the best dudes in the world would do this to me all the time. And it really does help. Like, and then it's like, how can you take that attitude into other facets of your game where you're just like, you're not gonna fucking do this to me?
Yeah, well, this leads back into the series that I'm dropping, in that I'm going to have a free version for people to see what the fuck it is, whether they want to use it or not. Yeah. But I'm also, for the people who do want to get it, am going to be, there's a section in there for common reactions. So if this is something that's new that you're just like, well, I know what it is now and I'm good, I've been playing around with it long enough to figure out what at least 7 common reactions people are going to have are, and how to destroy them with those reactions. So
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. All right. Well, we have a huge show for you guys today. I'm going to get to the strip club story shortly. I feel like Tait would appreciate it. It's the right guest for it.
That's right. I mean?
Yeah. So I'm going to do that. And then we're going to interview Tait Fletcher. Guys, also look out for our Instagram posts. So Instagram does everything they can to try to get independent artists like Drew and myself to pay them money, which they don't need.
Yeah, they really don't.
And so anytime, and if you're a jiu-jitsu person and you're like, what the fuck is happening? This is what's happening. My Facebook is verified, and it still does this shit to me, where anytime there's a word that's promoting something, so like seminar, Tuesday, 8 p.m., like whatever, there's an algorithm that'll pick up on those words, and they'll do everything in their power not to show your feed. So watch out for me and Drew. The thing you can do to help the most is engage, but we want to start posting more opportunities for you guys to send in questions, and for you guys to send in questions for our guests. So if you see one of those, like it, boost it to your story, send us a question. The problem when people send a question on like a random, like I got a bunch of questions and I was like, oh, I love our community, and I don't know where they're buried already. So it's definitely better to wait for us to like post. But man, I copy and pasted a bunch of really sweet emails that we got to my Instagram stories.
Nice.
And like, you guys have been fucking, it's been so inspiring, you know?
Yeah, I'm starting to feel like we should start calling the people who message us super fans, because we got enough fans right now, but there's those super fans out there that are really binging on this podcast.
What do you guys think should be, guys? Yeah, what do you guys think should be like? What is your name? Like, what are the, again, like on my podcast, which a bunch of you guys have moved over to and started listening to during the week, which is great. It'll make you, if you're like, I want to kill myself every day but Monday because of Rear Naked Radio, good news. I have episodes the other days. So you can check out my podcast. But I call my guys the Misfits. There's like the Jamie Kilstein podcast Misfits. Like ours should be a jiu-jitsu thing, but like what the fuck is ours? Gio and Boogie really.
Oh, they got it with the freaks. Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's like badass, and it's kind of what I was going for with Misfits. But Freaks is so good. But yeah, I don't know. So send in your suggestions. We'll probably pick one of yours.
Do you think we should do the G's and Gis? We could bring that back.
I'm gonna quit the show and kill myself. No, we should not do that. Why don't if you want to give me a shout out, why don't we just do the Filthy Jews and Canadians?
Yes,
we could do that. The Rear Naked Radio. I'm an official Rear Naked Radio Filthy Jew, and all of our listeners will be brought up on hate crime charges.
Yeah, if you really want our post being banned, there's the one.
Yeah. The trend. No, it's okay.
Tell me about strippers. Let's go do something a little more politically correct.
All right. So I did my first jiu-jitsu seminar.
How was that?
Fucking incredible. Huge shout out to Dark Haven Studio in Albuquerque. It's one of those gyms, dude, where you walk in and you're like, yep, I'm about to be friends with everybody. Like there was no hostility. There was just such a fucking family vibe to it. It was like designed really cool. There were like neon lights. So it reminded me of when I went to like Kat Von D's like fucking tattoo studio, and like
nice.
It's just dope. And the guys who run it are great. Nate Harris is a really good friend of ours, but all the students are really cool too. And that's where you can tell you can have a cool coach, but if your blue belts are fucking cunts, then you're just like, all right, something's happening here, you know? Yeah. But everyone was just so nice. Fucking Carlos Condit shows up to take my seminar. I had to like send the picture to like my family in like a group text. And then my brother was like, you don't understand. Here's who Carlos Condit is.
Yeah.
Because my family was like, neat.
I hate that. My family's the same way.
Oh, they're like, did you do your Aikido program today? And you're like, no. It's like when grandparents call stand-up your skits.
Dude, I was trying to explain to my dad one time how I
big mistake already.
Yeah, for sure. You don't even know. You have to know him to understand how big a mistake it is. he is so not with what's going on.
Yeah.
Well, he's a retired math, science, physics teacher, so that gives you a personality.
Great. So like he was probably fucking a lot.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, we do have a lot of siblings, like we said.
I almost spit out my coffee. We realized that at the exact same time. I was like, get his math science on.
I was telling him one time when he was over about how I run the biggest meme page in jiu-jitsu. First of all, he still doesn't know what jiu-jitsu is. So that was already a lost conversation. I'm like 10 years into it at that point. Still doesn't.
So
it's kind of like wrestling, right? It kind of just looks like wrestling.
Yeah, you guys do like chairs? You guys use chairs? I love that you were like, he doesn't get jiu-jitsu. Let's jump to memes.
Dude, in the same sentence, it was such a failed experiment to begin with. So then when I'm saying that I run the largest meme site, he comes back, his first response is, what's a meme?
Yep.
I'm like, well, this is actually really important in some circles. This is like, I feel like Ron Burgundy, like, oh, I'm kind of a big deal.
If you were on Reddit, Dad, you would understand. I want to add to the show description. I'm writing it down right now. How to explain to your parents what jiu-jitsu is.
I don't think I told you. They've only ever watched me compete once. And the one time they came.
Oh, it didn't go well, I assume.
No, wait. The first match was awesome. I kicked ass and choked the guy. And then they showed up.
No.
They missed the awesome one and then got me in round 2 where I went against who was at that point ranked #1 in Canada for lightweight MMA.
Great.
I was a blue belt, by the way.
Great.
Yeah.
Tell me he didn't Barambola you in front of your parents.
No, but in about the span of 13 seconds, he had me choked almost completely unconscious in a guillotine choke. Like all my parents did was sit down, watch me in spandex, get my neck torn off. And like when I say almost choked out, it was as close to choked out as I've ever been, where he let go and my body started convulsing, but I was conscious. Like it was really bad. Like my mom thought that I had been killed.
I've been doing stand-up shows where like a hot person will walk in like 15 minutes in and be very confused, and I will stop the show and I'm like, I was doing really well before you got here. Please. So seminar was great. Also, like, not just to name drop the Carlos Condit thing. I mean, it was awesome. And guys, if you follow me on Instagram, I did get the picture that I promised you guys, which is me sadly standing there with a shirt on in between Nate and Carlos, who both
are all abs.
So they're just made of abs. But man, it's like, that's how you become one of the best in the world, by the way. It's like you fucking train with everyone. He was asking me questions. I was like going over to him. Like, it was so fucking cool. It was really cool. And it also, I feel like with your Reverse Kimura series, it was just one of those things where it was just so fucking validating, where I was like, oh, I'm really good at this. Like, because we're going to get hired a bunch because we're funny or the show has a large fan base. But what's really cool, and what I got the most DM to me after the seminar, is everyone was just like, I'm using everything you showed me. Yeah, our jiu-jitsu is fucking good too. We're not just like the sad, funny guy at the gym who became funny because we just pretended we were injured and didn't roll and just made fun of everyone else.
Just in the dark humor pits of the soul. Yeah. I've started I've been posting memes to try to hype the series and to hype, to
try to get your dad to love you.
I need so many more memes for that. And it started off, the comments were like, what the hell is this? Is this a Russian 2-on-1? Is this a Russian tie? Is this they didn't understand what was going on.
I believe
an arm drag.
I believe I commented, this isn't a meme.
But lately, more so now, like a couple of weeks in, people are like, dude, I used Reverse Kimura last night and took the back 4 times. Like, this is it.
And good for you on fucking commitment. That's another lesson I think our guys can learn, which is, or guys and girls, is I should say that like a lot of times, especially on the internet, the cesspool of social media, you do something once, and if it doesn't hit right away, you're like, well, I guess I quit forever and pretend that this didn't happen. But so much of this shit is just about like, if you believe in something, if it's like, look, I've deleted tweets pretty fast because I'm like, especially with all the political stuff, I'm like, I don't even want to be doing this. It's just a habit. I'm just doing this because I'm supposed to do this, right? But if it's something you fucking believe in, it's like, oh, you just keep doing it, you know?
Yeah, man. Like it took some fortitude mentally on my part, because this is the first series that I've put out ever. So it's a lot like mentally riding on it. And there's because I already have such a big social presence in the BJJ community, a lot of higher level people are seeing what I'm putting out. And I've got some people that don't like it. But what's cool is there are some people that I really respect that do like it, and that's extra validating. So for me, I'm like, if everybody hated it, then I'd be wrong. But there's people that are like, yeah, this is the shit. I've been using it for a long time. You're doing it right.
And there's also something to being divisive, like to bring it back to comedy, where I think Dave Attell told me this once, where he's like, if everyone's laughing, you're doing it wrong. You know what I mean? Like, you do want to, I mean, and jiu-jitsu, right? Like when 10th Planet started, when Danaher Death Squad, or Gordon, all these people who have blown up, it's like started and still will get so much hate, where it's like, look, you can either see something, you can be like, that's not my shit. But if you're so viscerally upset at someone else's jiu-jitsu or someone else's social media presence or someone else's whatever, then it's like, chances are it's a problem within you. Like I remember this fucking guy tried to start a fight with me recently on an airplane. And I was just kind of smiling the whole time. And I'm like, whatever you want, man, like we're good. And he just like would not give up. And finally, I was just like, who's this really about? And that's when it got like kind of tense where I'm like, because I know it's not me. Like, you are way too angry for me standing up in the aisle.
Yeah.
You are way too upset that you right now you're yelling at either your wife, your fucking kid who just like dropped out of college, like the TSA agent who grabbed your dick, like, but it's
Your son who is supposed to be a teacher is instead making Instagram memes about jiu-jitsu.
I hope your next week of memes are just like you trying to like just like you and your dad, and it's just like, love me, dad. You're like, this is the meme. This is what a meme is. All right. So I'm at a strip club with my friend in a wheelchair. And listen, it's important.
You can say Pete.
It's important to the story. Well, okay. So we have a friend, Pete McGregor. He's great. He's a 10th planet freak, transgender boogie, lives in Canada. And one of my favorite people in the world. And Nate, our other friend who we talked about, Nate Harris, Nasty Nate Harris on Instagram.
With all the abs.
With all the abs, has like a cot in the strip club. He like lives part-time in a strip club.
Perfect.
He's had jujitsu people. He takes every jujitsu person to the strip club.
Steak and strippers.
For steak and strippers. By the way, my second week as a vegetarian, I stuck with it. Good job, Jamie.
Hey.
And it's bad enough being at the strip club, but I'm also like, if I was caving on my morals while like too much sadness. and so yeah, so he lives there, and he's offered so many famous jiu-jitsu guys, like, we're going to the strip club, and they're like, I'm with my wife. Like, it's just so common to Nate that he's like he just assumes everyone,
like, we're going to a movie.
Yeah. Yes. Now I did want to go because I'm newly single and I haven't been to a strip club in fucking like a decade and so long. And I also wanted to see Nate in his natural habitat. And sure enough, everyone knew him. Everyone just hugs, lap sitting, naked girls. It was great. But what was cool about going with Nate was that the girls would come over and sit on our laps, and they would want to dance at the end, but they were also legitimately hanging out with us because they were legitimately friends with Nate. Does that make sense?
That's so weird.
It was great. It was like it was like the least gross and sad you could feel at a strip club. A story after the show. Filthy story after the show. So, because this is what this podcast is. This podcast isn't me telling you about the cool sex stuff I do. The stories always have to be a little, dad doesn't know what a meme is, sad. Which is, look, me and Pete both shot Master Ken videos. Pete is sick at fucking jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
None of this, I asked him if I could tell a story. None of this is like, oh, Pete's in a wheelchair. However, it is important for the story because, so Pete's fucking jacked.
Oh, yeah.
His arms are huge, right? And, when I first met him, I was just so instantly comfortable with the guy because, like, we've been talking on jiu-jitsu chats and, like, he's such a cool fucking dude. But there's also that part of me where I'm, like, just the awkward, like, hey, what can I do to help? What can I do that's in the way? And he's like, I got it. And he'll, like, pole vault himself, like, across a parking lot, like, into the car and,
Pretty
like,
much.
snap and summon his wheelchair. Like, it was fucking insane, right? I would not be able to do it. I would just be, like, wheeling in circles. So anyway. With that said, this girl comes up and she's like, so what do you guys do? And Nate was like, we're jiu-jitsu guys. We do jiu-jitsu or whatever. And she's like, oh, I can tell with you, Pete. And she like feels his arms. And then she looks at me and she goes, and what do you do? I was like...
That's the low-key baddest burn in the world.
I also do jiu-jitsu.
So did you just start?
Not
or
in a wheelchair. So that, to be clear, when it comes to like who's going to back me up in a fight, you see Pete in a wheelchair, but he's fucking jacked. And then you see me, who I swear to God, right before that was asking the waitress if there are vegan options at the strip club, and they were like, and what a fat girly thing do you do? It was. So Pete is just laughing hysterically. Pete makes a bunch of jokes that are too offensive for me, who's not in a wheelchair, to make, but they're hilarious. I get like low-key self-conscious because I'm like, I'm in fucking decent shape. Like,
you're going there.
My ears are doing the weird things a little bit. And so I go, I was like, I'm just gonna take my jacket off. I have a baggy jean jacket because I've had.
This is after being outflexed by Carlos and Nate earlier in the day.
100%. So I take my jacket off, and then I realize I'm in a strip club. I'm wearing a Simpsons Itchy and Scratchy cartoon shirt.
I just can't get better.
And I was just like,
they're bringing you the kids menu at the strip club.
I know. I swear to God, at the same time, they were like, nachos, no beef. And I was like, fuck, God damn it. God damn it.
Oh, Jesus.
So that was my very manly strip club experience. And then, dude, I gotta tell you, I fucking microdosed with these guys, and we just had like, there is something really special about jiu-jitsu people where we had this long conversation about ego and about why doesn't everyone just try to be a better person. I actually talked about this on my podcast with this guy Corey Allen, who's this big like mindfulness dude who I heard on Aubrey Marcus's show. And I was just like, why don't people just want to be better? Like, why don't they, like, if I figure out I fucked up, I go, oh, I want to fix that because I want to be better. And we just forget that, like, we learn that on the mat.
Yeah. Like
every fucking day. And it is incredibly rare for someone to admit a mistake.
That's a really good point.
Where it's like when you can find that, combination of like insight, intelligence, because Nate's an actor too. And so it's like we're both kind of like artistic as well. I almost said autistic, but that's like the same thing. And
same spectrum.
Yeah. And combine that with jiu-jitsu. Not combine that with sports. You know what I mean? Like, 'cause a lot of jocks end up being assholes. But jiu-jitsu specifically, it's very special. And I think part of it has to do with, like, there are people way smaller than you who are just fucking you up.
Yeah.
It's hard to lie to yourself on the mat. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, for sure. Speaking of mistakes, I think the mistake you made in that strip club, the main one, is the shirt. That one just really, like, it kind of ruined the whole thing to a perfect, picture perfect madness.
I know.
And dude, you've got good shirts.
I know.
Like, really good shirts.
And I brought them.
You brought them and you didn't wear them to the script club.
It's like here's why. And the shirts I believe that you're referring to are from SUPERARE.com. Now, listen, when I broke up with my girlfriend, I told myself I wanted to be celibate for a while.
Wow, you really went the other way, didn't you?
Well, I think subconsciously, look, if I wore a SUPERARE shirt into that strip club, they're going out of business. It would have just been Bangtown on my dick. There would have just been a line. You remember an Airplane when they lined up to like slap that person? It would have just been a line of strippers.
It would have been like reality flips where you're supposed to be paying them, but they're lining up to pay you.
And they're just like sending me, oh my God, I forgot the other thing. Hold on. We'll get back. This is part of the ad. Sorry, SUPERARE. I am so bad at talking to, especially those types of women, that sometimes I subconsciously rebel in my head. So this one girl came up. Me and Pete were having a really heavy conversation, as one does in a strip club, while wearing a cartoon shirt. And this girl came up and she goes, what are you guys talking about? And I said, my issues with codependency and how to beat them through self-love. And then went pew, pew, and gave air pistols. No. And I swear to God. And then within 3 minutes, she's telling us about her miscarriages. She's telling us, I just opened Pandora's box of sadness at the strip club.
It's like, that was a joke. I'm so sorry. I did not actually want to be your therapist.
Yep. And then, by the way, I had the most sexual, it's fine. So, so I want to be celibate. And so far, I've been turned out. I've been good. I've been so good. And I think subconsciously I went to put on the SUPERARE shirt, which I'm wearing one right now. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/RearNakedRadio. And it just, I would have gotten fucked. I would have gotten fucked to death. Whereas because I didn't wear it, I got to honor my celibacy and look, if a stripper comes up to you and you're not wearing a SUPERARE shirt, she's going to tell you about her miscarriages.
Also, she's going to double the price if it's itchy and scratchy.
100%. 100%. Do you want that? Do you want to walk into a strip club and have some girl be like, I've had 15 miscarriages? Or do you want to go in with a SUPERARE shirt, which you can get 15% off on? So you can get one for every day of the fucking week. SUPERAREstore.com using promo code REARNAKED. Walk in there and just get fucked. Do you want to get fucked or do you want to hear about miscarriages? SUPERAREstore.com.
Talk about changing slogans. We got to email them that.
Yeah. Hey guys, got some promo advice for you. But honestly, Drew had a phone conversation with them this week, and they are supporting the fuck out of us. And so if you want, like, honestly, like the dopest gear, but like we don't have merch right now, so go buy from them. It's better than if we had merch. And use promo code REARNAKED. I know a lot of you guys are going into the stores in like New York and LA, which is great. And you can actually use the promo code there as well. But online sales are really going to help us. It's really going to help them because they're trying to build it up, just like we're trying to build up this podcast. So we're trying to find companies to, not the best business model, but we both support each other and we want to lift each other up instead of like going to some like rich company we don't give a fuck about. So go to their online store, use promo code REARNAKED, and
yeah. You want to talk to a pirate?
I do. Are you going to open with that? I have a question that I'm so scared to open with, by the way. He has not texted me his email. I guess you could DM him. Should I tell you the question and the audience so they know going in? And then if his reaction is super awkward, they could be like, yep, I guess. He was in the first episode of The Mandalorian.
That's right. I wanted to bring that up too. Is one of those dude, that guy is in everything. Everything. I'm always like, hey, it's Tait Fletcher.
So here's how I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to say, what was Baby Yoda like in real life? And then he's going to say nothing. And it's going to be horrible.
You're going to be like wearing that itchy and scratchy shirt again. It's like, you are a child.
If he goes with it, I'm like, I will take the bit as far as he wants to take the bit. Be like, was he kind of a diva? Did Baby Yoda, was he like no like green M&Ms? What's his rider look like? But instead, it's going to be silent, and then I'm going to panic, and then I'm just going to be like, who gave you your black belt? But yeah, Tait's fucking awesome. Tait did my podcast. We became friends in Los Angeles. He came out to one of my shows. Was on Rogan, legit Jiu Jitsu black belt, a 10th Planet guy, which I didn't know. Yeah, I didn't know until recently. I actually heard he has 2 black belts. Like he got a second.
About that.
Yeah, I don't. But I mean, it could be completely wrong. I also don't know. Was he Rogan's bodyguard at one point?
Dude, I don't know. He's kind of like 2 Rogans stacked on top of each other with a giant beard.
I know, dude. Well, we became friends before I really knew about him. So all these like basic questions, I never got a chance to ask him. So I don't want every question I ask just to be wrong facts about him. But I am going to ask him what Baby Yoda's like. So anyway, we got Tait Fletcher. You can follow him on all the socials, support what he's doing. Caveman Coffee. He has a ton of businesses going on. His podcast, Pirate Life Radio. And we love him. He's always been just a really fucking good guy to me. So hope you guys like our interview with Tait Fletcher.
What's up, guys?
We're doing it. Hi, buddy.
Right on. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, too.
I tried to go on my computer, but it's easier on a phone at this point for me because I'm an antique, apparently.
No worries. Yeah, I didn't know what the fuck Zoom was.
And then I feel like they're like, do you really trust this operating system? Because it's going to know all your information now, and we're going to share it at will, and we can send text messages or do whatever. And I thought, I don't know that I'm agreeing to a partnership like this.
I can already tell you're a 10th Planet black belt.
That's amazing.
That's so fucking funny.
Things we just sign up for, you know? I mean, I guess it's a good spot to say, look into it.
Yeah. You're the first guest that's realized that we're selling you off to, you are now a sex slave to the Zoom corporation. You're now
I was looking to fill my day up a little more anyway, so that's good. Give me a hobby.
Yeah. It's just audio nerds from the fucking Bay. It's like a once a week thing, but they can change it. They can up it at any point. Again, you're now known as Tait Fletcher Zoom.Inc. Esquire.
Get it.
Can I talk about, before we get going, how I just watched you drink from 3 different things in about 30 seconds?
Yeah.
You've got a system.
Wait, and I've got a fourth here because I go with bone broth with red chili in it.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Of course.
That's my high fat kind of mid-morning snack type thing.
Nice.
And then we have a coffee, which is necessary. Also with some of Paul Stamets mushrooms in it, which are really fucking nice. I don't know if you mess with them at all, but highly functional, utilizable. You feel them right away. And Element is my other drink besides the water, that is Rob Wolf's company that has magnesium and all kinds to get your electrolytes right.
Rob's a really good friend of mine. He's great. We're trying to get him on this podcast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, by the way, everything you're drinking is what I assumed you were. If you're like, what do you think Tait Fletcher drinks? I would be like, bone broth.
Bones of his enemies.
Yep. And then all we can see is the wood ceiling too. So you with all of the mugs in there, it looks like you're in a bunker. And
Kinda.
Yeah.
Or in the hull of your pirate ship.
It's in my secluded spot. Yeah.
Nice. Just drinking like canned beans. That's your fifth thing.
No, we got a fridge full of venison.
That is again, if you were like, what's in Tait Fletcher's refrigerator, I would be like a whole deer.
Yeah.
Look, man, we've had some pretty manly guests on this podcast so far, but I
would imagine
a new bar right now. Like we had Tom DeBlas last weekend, but your beard alone just outmans. I tried to grow a bit of a beard in preparation. I'm sorry, this is like it's not good.
No, you're doing great. You're right where you're at. You got to embrace that.
You're so nice.
Hey, wait, if we're doing like a manly off, DeBlas last week, I think the manliest thing he said, it was a throwaway.
Yeah.
We'll see if you can top it. His throwaway was he was just listing examples of things, and he's like, look, I've had a machete pulled on me, and then he just like,
it's amazing.
But he didn't tell the story. Like the story, him getting a machete pulled on him, it didn't like warrant.
Right. Sometimes a bunch of guys got spears at you, and you're like, what's next? But then, I was with my grandma at her birthday, and I just thought, well, we're just lucky to be here. Yeah.
I thought we were just on set, but they actually brought on some Vikings.
Right.
Things got weird.
What else are you going to do at a grandma's birthday? Look, if you haven't had a machete pulled on you at your grandma's birthday, your grandma's kind of a pussy.
Well, she probably hang with a safe crowd. You know what I mean? There's a lot of Puritans around.
Yeah. So have you had, can you top a machete being pulled on you?
I don't know. I would hate to get into that kind of a pissing match.
Right. That's fair.
I think it's important to say that, Tom's the guy telling the story, not the guy with the machete.
Yeah. Tait, your answer makes me think
saves.
Your answer makes me think you were the one who pulled a machete on Tom. And you're like, hey man, maybe we should change the fucking subject. Maybe we can talk about something else so I can leave this cabin that I'm under house arrest on.
That's amazing.
So look, I have a bunch of serious questions, like legitimately serious questions I want to ask you. But there's a moment, like, I know a bunch of actors, and you never want to be the guy who's like, what was this person like? What was this person like?
Why not? It's interesting.
Oh, good, because I'm going to do it.
I mean, I don't know. Yeah.
My go-to is I always want to be, I just go, were they nice? Like, I just want to know if someone I admire was cool.
Right.
So since you're cool.
Especially people like that they have that persona like Dwayne or somebody like that, where it's like, he's only known as like a huge smile and really kind to everybody. And I've never heard anything different. I mean, it's like, yeah, there's guys like that. There's, real unicorns.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, great. So I'm so glad you're cool with that, because I self-consciously prefaced it. But you were on the Mandalorian as what was Baby Yoda like in real life?
A lot angrier than you see.
Fuck!
I mean, he appeared, yeah.
Ah,
You set
And
yourself
a,
up for that.
and a raspy voice, like a cigarette
no.
smoker from The Simpsons.
Oh,
Yeah, like
no, like the
yeah.
long-time smoker.
Oh, I didn't think anyone still even smoked cigarettes, but Baby Yoda
In
still smokes
Arizona, you're in
cigarettes.
Arizona, and you're like, there's no cigarette smoking. I mean, you guys still smoke in restaurants over there, I think, right?
Not that I've noticed.
It's like cave days.
It's a
Last
little.
time I was in Arizona, I drove through it, and some dude was putting a cigarette out in his eggs, and I was like, a whole different level of say. Is it 1986 right now? What's
Yeah, that actually, now that I think about it, that is the image that's plastered on our state flag. It's just a guy putting a cigarette out on eggs.
Did you listen to Ronnie Chang? He's on Netflix right now.
No, I heard it's really good though.
Hilarious.
Okay.
He's done a thing about all the state mottos, which reminds me of. Anyway, you'll love it.
Oh my God, fucking incredible. And you know what, man? I'm really glad you called out my self-conscious. You're really good about that with me in
What do you mean?
in our friendship. Well, a lot of times, and especially with the comedy world, and what I love about, I think the reason I love you is because you balance, you're an artist, but you're also a fighter, right? And I think that's important sometimes, because I think sometimes when you just hang around tough guys, it's harder to be vulnerable. And I think sometimes when you just hang around artists, I get very self-hating. You know what I'm saying? Where like you found this sort of balance of being creative, being an artist, but also like you have that tough guy shit too. Like that's kind of a rare balance.
Well, I'm old. I've lived a lot of lives, you know? I mean, it's just like you stay in your lane when you're there, right? It's like when I'm fighting, I'm doing things that are like that, you know, whether it's bodyguarding and working in clubs and all that kind of thing. And then if, you know, you're one of the lucky ones, you can take off and fighting can be your career, where you can live on that and you can quit your personal training job or whatever it is. But I think with that, it's like whatever course you run, it's so simple to get lost in that, of that's who you are. And if you're stuck in this idea about this is who I am, well, everything has a beginning, middle, and end. And the arc of that is going to break your heart anyway. But you can make it a lot worse if you're not kind of more fluid in your thoughts about where to go next, or I am another thing other than this thing that I do. And it's hard being a fighter or an athlete of any kind, I think, and separating yourself from that, because it's, for me, it was one of the first points of pride I had in my life.
Sure.
Of like, fuck, man, I'm doing this thing. I mean, to get a T-shirt that said competitor on the back, holy fuck, man.
Yeah.
You know, to have mask and scrape, throw T-shirts and shorts and go, hey, you're sponsored by Tap Out now. It's like, oh, fucking cool. You know, like I'm doing a thing that people find esteemable. And it was, I don't know, for me, it was that kind of an arc of like going, these are the parts of this game. And then you live through it all and you see that and you go, okay, what's next? And I think it's probably like doing anything else. If you're an evolving soul that's seeking truth in your life, you go, okay, I'm doing this thing and I've extracted a lot of the juice out of it that I can. And maybe that's still a thing like jiu-jitsu that I can still have as my touchstone, that I can use as my kind of, as my meditation, as my practice. That's what I mean to say, as my practice. There's all these men that are out lost in the world right now. They don't have a practice. And if you live like that, then you're living based off the internet or what you see somebody you think is cool is doing. And then your life is just signaling and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
And you don't have a deep dive. And you got to deep dive in this life to get free of the shackles of like being scared about who I am in representation to others and et cetera. You know, it goes on into a dark hole. And so to just really dive in and go, okay, I put my self-consciousness aside. I put all my fears aside. I'm just going to find out what I can learn here in this water. And then after a while, you're like, oh, there's other water. And then you get excellence in this thing and you can take it to that next thing. But for me, it's like that in the film business too now, where it's like, you know, come in and real grateful to come in as a stuntman and be able to be in all the shows that I've been in. It's all been an honor. And the guys I get to work with are fucking incredible athletes, professional athletes of a whole nother sort. But then at a certain point, you know, guys go, okay, what's next? Well, maybe I could be a stunt coordinator later. And then maybe I could be a second unit director. And that's kind of the path. Yeah. Or for me, I go, I like to perform and I'll be an actor and I'll write and I'll be expressing that in this kind of next era or whatever. But, you know, and that's kind of what came after fighting. But it was really hard too at that time because you're like, well, who am I now? Now that I'm
Yeah.
not this thing that I was, that was so strong that everybody identified me with, because I'm only a reflection of what my community sees me to be. Otherwise, your life is chaos, right? I mean, that's why people that lie all the time are in chaos, because they're never true about who they really are. And so the reflection they get back is confused. Anyway, yeah.
Well,
Oh, it's fucking great.
Before I respond to that, because I definitely am going to, I've got to go get some bone broth and some mushrooms.
Perfect.
I feel like that really helped spark that. That was amazing.
Yeah, I'm drinking coffee like an asshole, and I'm just like drowning in self-doubt.
Nothing wrong with coffee.
Nice.
Nope, nothing wrong with coffee. Something that you said in there really, really resonates with me is wearing multiple hats and not being afraid to be different people or to look to be something else. And I found it really caging when I would label myself. Sometimes people label you and you'd be like, fuck you, I'm not that. But when you label yourself, that's when I found I was most limiting myself in everything. Anytime I would label myself, for example, like when I was a purple belt, I labeled myself as a guard player. And so all I would do was want to know the next guard. All I want to know is how to stop the pass. But then when I got to my brown belt, I was like, fuck, man, I can't pass guard. So I guess I got to be a guard passer now. It's like, no. Just change your modality. Just keep learning. It's not all one thing. You're not all one thing. You know, maybe like you might think yourself, you're just a ground fighter. It's like, no, you can do some stand up too. In all sorts of ways, people tend to limit themselves by putting those labels on. I really like your modality that you're talking about. It's just like going with it and being free to express, being free to explore, being free to expand. That's really cool.
Yeah. And I think it's a necessity. I mean, I run from it because of self-hatred, right? It's like I'll become in such loathing about myself if I get sedentary, or if I'm fucking hypercritical. I've got a horrible standard for myself to reach. And so if I'm not in that action, it's tough. But I'll say this about like there's a point, I guess I was a purple belt and Eddie made me start on my back for forever like that. And if you can either finish or you can sweep, but like, you're going to start here. And I don't know, for a couple of years, very dangerous guard at doing that. But like, that doesn't mean what's before was lost or what's to come next. It's just like, I mean, what I find is I feel like it's like diet. It's like at different parts of my life, I nourish myself with this thing, and this is what I can deep dive into in this regard. And it'll complement this next thing I do. And it's a link to what I just did before. I mean, that's a full life, right? Where I'm connecting those metrics. And I think the only thing in jiu-jitsu that I think people lose, which is common and a thing that is attacking your ego a lot of people get there and they go, and a lot of these like really type A personalities, I think, okay, what do I got to do to be a black belt? I mean, that's every white belt thinks about this at some point, right? Or maybe all the time. And it's not a very interesting conversation, is it? A goal-oriented conversation. What's cool is the action that you're in a daily life.
Yes.
This thing about a fairy tale that doesn't exist in 8 years. Do you think I could do it in 6? I mean, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think everybody deserves a black belt. It's not a white belt. A black belt is a white belt that just stuck around. That's bullshit. People should die blue belts. People should die brown belts. There's too little consideration, I think, put on a black belt in a lot of regards in our society. And it's a marketing system, right? It's a problem of commerce because you want to keep these people around. People want to stamp them as theirs and all that kind of shit. So I would guard against for any coach that is there, because a lot of coaches are really young and there's the experience that they've had so far. But what you rob somebody of, and if you're a jiu-jitsu player, what you rob yourself of if you're so interested in that and gaining belts too soon. I really like when I saw guys like Homeo would go through everybody. And so at blue belt, he won the worlds. At purple belt, he won the worlds. At brown belt, you're missing opportunities to stand on the greatest podiums that we know in our sport. You're missing your fucking opportunity because you wanted to get a blue belt before you won a real championship. Stop it. Come on, don't do that to yourself, because that's the loss. I mean, that's where we start to hurt our growth. And if we're here for our heightened growth and for the highest manifestation of our vibration, well, fuck, we owe it to ourselves. You know, everybody's talking about make the grind, make it work, this and that. You know what does that? Cultivating patience.
Yeah.
Cultivating, you know, in God's time, in the universe's time is when this occurs. And other than that, my business is just putting in good work, putting in good repetitions. And if I can concentrate on that, I'm better off than concentrating on a result that may or may not come and may or may not mean anything.
What do you think is the main reason that we are drawn to that type of thinking? Is it societal? Is it because the second, and by the way, this happened far too late in my life and very recently, I was like, focus on the process. Whether the process is being a better man, whether the process is getting better at jiu-jitsu, because I used to be that guy. I wanted my black belt. I wanted my stand-up TV show. Like, when does this come? When does this come? As opposed to like the daily sort of self-exploration that I think you're describing. And then once I started doing it, I'm like, God, this is even less stressful. This is just such a nicer life.
Right.
Like, it's not even harder. It actually has made.
You're not scheming for anything. You're trying to absorb knowledge, as opposed to your egocentric self going, I'm going to direct my shit this way. It's like, no, just get involved and let the process direct you, bro.
Yeah, that's right. If there's like a set goal, you're only ever winning or losing at getting it, right? There's no in between.
Right. Yeah, where's the sweetness in that?
Mm-hmm.
We have to, you know, we can't just take breaths at the beginning, at the end. We got to breathe all the way through.
Yeah. Well, I have I have kind of like an artist question. You were talking before about being sort of like, you know, everybody who knows you knows you're sort of this journeyman where you've done a lot of things and you've gotten good at a lot of things. For me personally, I've used my attic brain to get good at things. So what I mean by that is, you know, I start jujitsu and I get good at jujitsu, not because I'm naturally talented, but because I go, I'm going to start jujitsu once a week for self-defense. And then within a month, I'm doing it twice a day and trying to keep up with the 18-year-old performers. And the same thing happened to me with stand-up, with music, etc. And the problem with that is it goes into what we were talking about with labeling. I am a jujitsu guy or I am a comedy guy. So when I start doing stand-up again, I notice myself getting sort of like unhealthier and gravitating more towards negativity and doing jujitsu less. For you, when you got really good at things, how do you find that balance of, okay, I'm going to focus on acting, so I need to throw myself in to acting as much as I can, but also not let everything else kind of disappear into the background? Or do you work in phases where you go, right now I'm going to do that, I'm going to be a jiu-jitsu, you know, focus more on this?
I mean, when I was competing, I only wanted to compete, and that takes up your whole life. I don't talk to many people that aren't doing that. People that haven't cut weight, I don't have a lot in common with. Like I feel very much like us and them. There's these people that are working hard in the world, and there's the rest of these fucking scrubs in line at McDonald's. Like I had it wasn't the best attitude, but it was like, also I was like down for mine, man. And this is fucking what I know works. It's got function, it's got utility. And I see all you nut sacks out here walking around in a circle, right? And so I knew that jiu-jitsu was the good shit. I knew that was, and yeah, I'd tell people about it, and I would have no idea why they wouldn't want to avail themselves to that, right? And it's like people that tell you, I want to get in shape before I come into class.
Yes, I've talked about that.
You know that's not a thing, right? That doesn't occur. So anyways, but as far as that, it's like I run down a road until I can't any longer. Whatever it is, either my intellect or my body goes, we need to choose a different way, right? And so then I start looking at film, and that was a transitional spot. So then I'm not fighting. I'm not training like that anymore. I got a bunch of guys I was training at that time, but it opened it up for me to go ahead and explore and spread my wings in another way. Now, previous to that, all I'd done in that way is try to keep an open mind about other things. And every time I would be training with guys, I would fucking, you know, I'm the guy that's giving them books and shit to read. And like, you know, and I think that it's really important to be a highly evolved person on a lot of different spectrums, right? I think that if you're intellectually bright, and that's one kind of use to society, but you're deficient if you don't have a physical dexterous ability also to defend yourself or your people or whatever, just to be of mass utility. And it's like, so all these things, how do I comport myself with my emotions, my intellect, my body, and my spirit to be of the highest use to people around me? And so those are the kinds of things I would think. along with I want to get good at this thing. And after I wasn't going to compete anymore as a combat athlete, I just wanted to film in that kind of same fervor, I guess.
Well, kind of in the same vein, how do you find that balance? Because, you know, I think we need more people in the world who are.
I don't have it.
No, that's
what I'm saying. I'm hating on everybody driving through McDonald's. I'm like, I'm all in over here, and if you're not, eat dicks. You know,
right?
Like,
no, but I mean, but that's good, right? Like, we don't want to encourage. We want people to be better. We don't really want people to be going to McDonald's. I mean that balance of being the guy who recommends books and jujitsu, because that's sort of my goal. Where like today, I read all day. I'm writing more than I have in a while, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't go to the gym, and so now that part is going to suffer.
Oh, as if one is going to separate from the other.
Yes.
I mean, if you're doing those two things any man can do, right? I'm going to do this today. I'm going to do that today. Whatever else happens in that day is all a win. But these are two things. You can write and go to the gym. There's, you know, I mean, that's it's sounded like a nutsack to say like that's overwhelming, right? So at a certain point, you choose. Now you don't get to choose everything. I mean, here's the thing for me, how I got to it. You said about balance, and I guess I'll answer your question. Is that I look like this. I'm a fucking gorilla, and I'm knowing that, and I work in security for all my 20s, basically. It's like you're working against a struggle, right? If we're in court together, I'm going to jail, right? Regardless, right? That is my point. And so
they're like that tiny vegan couldn't have hurt anybody.
Well, and you know, it's just what it is. I mean, people look at things and they go, "I've figured this out. I can see what's happening here," and so you've really got to go the other way to come. I mean, everybody goes, "Oh, you're so nice. He's a sweet guy," when they talk about me, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's by design, right? Because I look this way. I need to be fucking coming with a smile because my resting face doesn't look friendly. So I need to be proactive about my presentation to the world. Otherwise, I'm going to get a certain result. And if I'd like to have a more pleasant result, it's upon me to present myself in a way that is, I don't know, more palatable in that way to some degree. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about like abridging myself in some way, but I can be extra kind and helpful to everybody that I see. And so like, that's part of it. It's like, be a full human, you know?
Yeah.
It's not enough to be tough. You've got to be super kind.
I love the idea.
If you're only kind and you're not tough, you're not kind. You're just fucking harmless, right?
Right. Yeah, I'm picturing you now shirtless on a movie set looking into a mirror and being like, fuck, I got to read some Taoism.
You know,
that was on my base.
There's a quote under your Instagram that says, Tait Fletcher, a human person. That plays in so much to what you just said, but I found it so funny when you said that because I thought that's exactly what someone who is not a human person would say. If I was an AI intelligent robot trying to take over the human race, I'd probably put Tait Fletcher, a human person.
Right. I think about it like this: is that, and I like the idea of the AI in it. Is, you know, I need people to be critical, right? In a way, I can't get better if I do a stand up set and you're like, dude, that was fucking great. And you don't really give me any critical insight about where I lost the crowd or about what you saw, it's worthless to me. Nobody's helped. What my ego, I think that you like it, like, so I stay sucking. And so I've always tried to surround myself with people that would raise the bar around me and that were counting on me to be better than I thought I could be. I guess that, you know, and that's a beautiful little hack that you can have of just who you surround yourself with.
Yeah,
I think, you know.
Yeah, I didn't learn that till late in life, and I wish that I'd learned it earlier. So hopefully there's some younger listeners that can really get the worth out of that, because I would pick up a talent or a hobby that I thought I was really good at, and this is pre-YouTube era too. This is in the 90s, and then nowadays you can go on YouTube and be like take, for example, I'm a guitarist. I thought I was great in the 90s, but then in the 2000s, you see these 9-year-old Japanese legends slang. Oh, yeah. And I'm like, well, I can't even get, oh, shit, I suck. But to have that available now lets me know how good I could be. And back in the 90s, when I didn't know how good I could be, I thought I was as good as I could be.
If you don't let that be a reflection of what you're supposed to do, right? It's easy to look at that and go, I'm not that, so I quit.
Mm-hmm.
because I'm in the results oriented mindset instead of going, fuck, I love learning this new language of how to speak through this guitar.
Right.
And if that's just the mindset, all the outcome is of little consequence, because you give yourself the chance to be a human person, to take time and mistakes for growth to cultivate a skill. And I think that's the thing, is that, you know, you don't quit early.
Yeah,
right?
well, it's what you were talking about before too, where a lot of people, they won't surround themselves with great people because it's a reflection that they think they're not great. It's why, you know, some schools will never grow because maybe the guy doesn't compete, or he just wants to be the guy who like fucks up blue belts or whatever, or why a person who wants to go home and read is still going to go to the bar with their townie friends because they want to fit in, and you can kind of feel above them. And when you surround yourself, like it sounds like you did, with people who are willing to call you out on your bullshit, you might take a couple more shots to the ego, but you will be better because of it, because you're not just hanging out with people who will go, good job, and then you can artificially feel good about yourself without growth. It's
also that violence is the clearest form of communication. And so when you're in the gorilla is violence, function and utility is all that matters. It doesn't matter to me much about how you feel about it, or about, oh, was it hard? Yeah, good. I hope it's so hard for you, you quit when I'm against, like, and so when you're in a structure, a society, as it were, that only needs the most heightened performance-based utility, and all else is, so you don't talk about emotions in that kind of a setting very much. You're not worried about stepping on toes. You're there to fucking smash heads or whatever. Right. And so in that kind of conversation, a lot of times we go away from evolutionary progression, I guess. Like we look to go backwards from what we know to be true from a biological evolutionary standpoint. And so under a fight scenario, under a combat society, you don't get lost in that. It's very clear language. And so we're only looking for utility. And so when you get better, you can get better without all the extra noise about, like, oh, fuck, I hope Keith didn't get mad at me. Oh, I wonder, did Joey have a sprained ankle? Who gives a fuck?
Right.
Who gives a fuck? If you're hurt, don't tell anybody. Suck it up and train. You know what I mean? All of that.
I needed to hear that because my ankle is hurt, and I'm like, fuck, I'm going to go train now. I'm going to totally change subjects because you seem so qualified for this. And not a lot of people are. So whenever you go to the movie theater with your jiu-jitsu homies or someone who trains, and even if it's like a piss poor arm bar, we just like basically like squeeze each other's hands, like jiu-jitsu, and we get very excited. Right. And now
with seeing a friend in a movie.
Yes.
The first time I ever saw it, I think, was Lethal Weapon, right?
Oh my God. Yes.
Where Mel Gibson triangled
the triangle choke. Yeah.
Yard. I mean, fuck, amazing.
You get so excited, dude. And so, you know, now as jiu-jitsu gets more popular, I think people are expecting, you know, there was that great John Wick fight, but people are expecting almost more jiu-jitsu. When I first started, and even if
we don't even call it a movie anymore, it's the John Wick fight.
The John Wick
fight. That's
fight.
kind of what it is. It's just,
yeah. And so, and professional wrestling too, a lot of guys have started cross-training jiu-jitsu, and they're trying to make it work.
Thanks, Brock Lesnar really brought that in.
Yes.
Kurt Angle, I guess, too, with he Kimura or hammerlock somebody.
With the actual wrestling. And now there are guys, there's a guy, Kyle O'Reilly, in NXT and WWE, who'll go like knee on belly and kind of like float around the guys, or more triangle chokes. But the thing is, too, you know, one of the things that I was surprised at when I started doing pro wrestling is a lot of the stuff you learn, and I wonder if it's the same with film, you know, about staying really tight when you throw punches and making sure your hands come back to your face. You actually have to do the opposite for pro wrestling, where you need these really big punches because you're playing to the back of the room. So my question with film is the reason we're not seeing more jiu-jitsu in fight scenes just because it's new and people are figuring out ways to do it? Or is there something inherently difficult about showing all of the things that like me, you, and Drew find awesome, but they don't translate to screen as much?
It's because Scientology loves Krav Maga.
Fucking God, I always blame either Scientology or the Jews.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, both are good. Yeah, I mean, they could raise their hands a lot of places. So,
God damn fucking when I thought I couldn't be more upset with Krav Maga and the IDF. Now
I don't know. I think it's hard to understand. It's the same reason that you hear at the MGM, everybody go boo, stand up whenever there's groundwork.
Right.
I mean, you've got an ignorant crowd fan base. And so the only guys that are putting that stuff in film are dudes that are directors and shit. They're like, you know what, dude? I took some jiu-jitsu and that shit's fucking awesome. And it's going in this, it's like that. It's those kinds of people, or people like, was it Sondheim and that did Gina Carano's first film when she was fighting?
Haywire.
Right. And so it's like great. Somebody that wants to celebrate an athlete that's like that. And then they go, okay, well, this stuff gets shoved in, or smaller films like Scotty Epstein was in one of those where it was Michael Jai White, I think, that he fought, or Scott Atkins, one of those kinds of real martial arts based films, Unbreakable or Untouchable or one of these kinds of things. And there's a ton of jiu-jitsu in that. Eddie was even one of the technical advisors on it.
Oh, cool.
But it I think it just doesn't translate to screen well. But what looks cool is like a lot of judo. And so you see a ton of combat judo happening in film because it's super dynamic, right? And jiu-jitsu, it's like, it's a trip, You see two guys locked up, and you can't imagine the kind of pressure that's being exerted and the force that's because they're not moving.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on. So if you don't know what you're looking at and don't know what that feels like, it's probably not very engaging for most crowds, I guess.
That makes sense. It's kind of like if you were to watch competitive chess and they were to go at their own pace. Like, you got to put some rocket launchers and miniguns on those characters to make it interesting for TV.
Yep. We need a timer for sure, and I need clear we need segments so I can get my coffee and bone broth breaks.
Yeah. So I have a question. So you're sober, yeah?
Yep.
Has that helped with jiu-jitsu or with you as an artist? I mean, besides
I mean, I'm looking at either life in prison or sobriety. I would say that it helped. Yeah, Jamie.
Try to make that more subtle of a question, Jamie.
5 years.
Yeah.
Great. No, it's better. It's better.
Let me rephrase that. For people who aren't on the verge of getting locked up and going into prison,
right?
Do you think that, like, let's say people who don't have a fucking problem, they don't have a substance abuse problem, they don't have addiction in their family, do you think that cutting back on that kind of stuff, on drinking, or even if we're talking about health and nutrition,
I don't know. I'm the fish I got to catch. What they do, I don't give one fuck. Can't control what anybody else does or doesn't do or whatever. If you want to get better, for sure, you would look at changing your life. But I don't know. I wouldn't say that this is bad or this is good or whatever. I mean, I think probably a lot of things have their purpose in different spots depending upon the user, right? And so it's whatever your operating system operates on the highest degree. I know guys that are great MMA fighters that still smoke a pack and a half cigarettes a day. It's insane. They have to fight against that. They have to go and do road work that isn't doing anything except trying to keep their lungs together. But however anybody got to get through the day, life's fucking hard. If you got to drink a bottle of Jack Daniels or have a handful of pills, I get it. Once that doesn't work anymore, you got to know there's a better way. There's another way. I'm here to say that. But until if it always works, then fucking use it up if you dig it. I don't know.
So do you kind of have that life philosophy that if you focus on yourself more,
I feel the same way about abortions. That's your business. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to be in the spot where I regulate anybody else's behavior in those ways. If I love you and it's killing you, eventually maybe we'll have a talk about it. But it's a very sensitive and individualized thing.
I'm so glad someone finally brought up abortion on this goddamn podcast. I've been
took 10 episodes
patiently waiting.
You're a king unto your own self. This is your castle, and as long as you're not stepping on anybody else's toes, and hopefully you're not hurting yourself, but you ought to be able to go and live and do what you like. And so, if you want to drink a bottle of booze every day under the bridge, that's horrible. And I'm so sorry that seems like the only answer, but you ought to be able to do that also. I mean, whether you're vegan or whether you're meat, like that's what I think is funny, I guess, about the carnivore diet and shit too. It's like, there's nobody that eats regular, I was going to say like a regular fucking human American, hamburgers and such. Just kidding. I know how bad the vegetarians can get. But nobody's telling them, you guys need to eat meat over there. I mean, really, it's like, but then all vegetarians are like, you guys all ought to, and the only way, I had a brain injury earlier this year, like a really fucking winger. And so I only eat ketogenically. I'm really careful about it. Since June, super careful about it. Because fats are the easiest thing that are assimilated by the brain for energy and fuel. And so if you can be ketogenic, you do yourself a lot of favors. But if I eat an Impossible, what's the macronutrient of that? Of your fucking tofurkey or your bacon or your, like, it's all fucking pretend. Y'all want to talk about we're not GMO and you're eating pretend meat. And you're naming it pretend meat names. But I don't know what that is. So that's something that could throw my whole system off, right? Like, and it's so anyway, but eat what you want. Also,
well, Rob Wolf and I,
what to do.
Rob Wolf and I had a conversation about this on my podcast, where it's like there are so many pretentious assholes on every side that, you know, I'm going back to being vegetarian, pescatarian-ish, and Rob's obviously a big paleo guy, and we have so much in common when we're not screaming at, you know how Rob Wolf and I became friends is Rob did Rogan's podcast and I had like 2 or 3 tweets that were like, you should fucking talk to that pussy Kilstein. I think he's a vegan. And then I emailed Rob and I was like, hey, I got this tweet, but I listened to your podcast and I loved it and we're probably going to be friends. And then we became friends. And so I think that you can have people on 2 sides of the argument who are like, I don't want to eat fucking Impossible Burgers. I don't want to eat processed bullshit.
How about there's no argument?
Right.
I mean, that's the thing is everybody, all the fucking social media nutsacks out there are looking for, how do I get an argument? How can I get people to say my name? Fuck you. Go kill yourself. Like, fucking, hey, man.
There's
it's
the manly.
It's so fucking unmanly. It's the fucking it's fucking disgusting, man. It's subhuman.
Wait,
it's
so
subhuman.
Go into that. Go into how it's fucking unmanly, because I've been thinking about this a lot, about the people who just sit there and they're trolling people on the internet.
It's all of that. It's all I mean, look at your Twitter comments. I mean, fucking, it's not hard to find, you know, but it's like, it's so easy to get lost in me trying to be spurious or provocational with masses. Like, you know, like it's fucking, that somebody can say, get that pussy Kilstein to go eat a steak or whatever. And that matters in any kind of way is the saddest thing in my heart. It makes me taste ashes. It's so antithetical to how we ought to be as humans.
Yeah.
Which is like, be here in the flesh, be with the people that you love, be kind. Like, what are we doing? That's ridiculous. And to have knee-jerk reactions from people where the paint's not dry yet, right? Because that's what the internet is. It's a bunch of new people.
Right.
Oh, y'all, I get it. Fuck, I was that way too. But they all think that it's important what they got to say. And it's like, no, bitch, you've been taken out of the oven too early. You got to cook some more. Your opinions aren't valid here. They don't stand up. They just don't.
Yeah. I got to remind myself of that so often because I get some shit posters on my stuff regularly.
Because you're a nice
That's the thing you got to remember, right?
And you're like, no, I want to hear the criticism too. And it's like, no, this is a 16-year-old or a fucking muted 42-year-old, whatever it is. But it's somebody that didn't develop and they just got older.
Yeah.
Like, fuck that. That guy doesn't get a voice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's super important, dude. You forget that, you know. And sometimes I'll send a screen cap to somebody and be like, "Look at this asshole," and they'll be like, "Yeah, but he's an asshole. So why would you look at it?"
Those guys, they think all the things that we've worked out. And we're like, that's unkind. That's unsuitable for this reason. This and those people, they haven't done any of that research. They haven't looked into their own hearts at all and thought about how they want to be in the world or what mark they want to make. They're just contrarians because they want to be noisy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, God bless you, man. But I remember this one guy, John Lowe, he told me the best advice ever. He says, you know, somebody's talking shit and gossiping because that's what people do about people that are doing things.
Yep.
They talk about us. Okay. And he says, remember from whence it comes. When you bullshit in your ear trickling in, fucking consider the source. Consider the source, Tait. Really consider it. What has that guy's footprint done? Has he done hard things? Does he know what road you've walked? Like,
why are we even considering that? Why do we care what he thinks in any kind of facet at all? It's important to see all that stuff in some ways, but I think right now, I mean, there's a time to close the doors on it and go, I got a tight picket fence of people that I trust and love around me, and I'm not going to get direction from commenters on Twitter or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's exactly right. Which drink was that? I don't think you described that drink.
Oh, brother. So, but that, they tell you a lot of propaganda, and I want you to look into it, okay?
Yeah.
They say about the fucking water in Mexico, because it's racism. They say don't drink it. This is the best water on the planet. Topo Chico. Guess where it's bottled? Mexico fucking City. You know where that is? Right in the heart of Mexico.
Holy shit.
No diarrhea ever.
Good work. Okay.
I'm going to go vegetarian too this summer. I'll call you for good recipes because I need to know what it is, because I got to try it. And I thought maybe in the summer after my brain's healed a little better and all that, I can maybe go into that. I'm
going to talk to Jake Shields on the show about it next week, because I was actually doing more of a keto.
Is he vegetarian?
Yeah, he has been since he eats eggs and occasionally fish.
That's a guy. What a fucking set on him too. You see that? What a body on the kid. I mean, you got to believe that. Results don't lie.
Yeah. Well, he, what I've noticed so far going back to vegetarian, because I was doing kind of more keto, paleo. I definitely don't feel as strong, but my cardio and recovery feels fucking great. So I'm fucking with it. I just went back just because my fucking cat died and I got sad and I want to do more for animals. But like health wise, I don't want to be the preachy vegan I was. I'm trying to follow and like figure out what is happening to my body. And like, I feel good so far.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, dude. But yeah, please call me. I got good recipes.
I will.
I'm trying to
you'll have walked a road I don't know anything about. So
yeah, well, I'm trying to stay away from all that processed shit. The funniest was going to, I talked about this earlier in the show, but going to a strip club with Nate while he eats a steak and asking the very nice naked lady if they have vegan options was definitely, that's a place where you will feel silly.
They have Tempe, Portobello hamburger.
Yeah. Okay, so last question. This started off as a bit, and we've actually gotten the most fascinating answers. Is we've been asking people at the end for relationship advice. I, for you, will take relationship advice, but also for the first time in my life, I am trying to be fucking.
You guys aren't gonna like it.
Well, no. So I'm also. This is
you already got it from Gary Tonin, so you're all right.
So I either relationship advice, or I'm actually trying to be. Completely not just single, but I think I might try to just be celibate for a fucking year. I've been single for a month, and this is the happiest I've ever been, and I feel like the most
You're gonna come in your
self-actualized.
pants in your sleep within 60 days, I bet.
Oh, I already fucked up. So
you're saying you got no discipline, you got no heart for the battle.
Well, this is what I need from you.
When you say try, I think that's all on you.
Yeah. Okay.
Give it to him, Tate.
So what is your advice? What is your advice on either your relationship advice?
That dick. Oh no, you don't have to every day. I think until you're like maybe, I don't know, 34 at least, you got to jerk off at least once a day just to keep your brain healthy. Otherwise, it'll go back up and it'll pollute the mind.
Yeah,
so you got to be careful.
You don't want cum brain, they call it, I think.
Yeah, that sounds horrible. Anyway, so you want to avoid that.
Yeah, okay.
What I would say is this, and what I've seen ever since I was little, two things: the sadness of monogamy, and where then people get kind of cast away. Like I've seen people treat people so horrifically based on what they thought society ought to treat them as. Oh, and I want to say too about the vegetarianism.
Yeah,
is that like. It's like being a guard player for a year or only working on judo or whatever. It's development, and it's different times of our lives demand different kinds of training and different kinds of development. And I think that's great. Fucking try on all that shit. Like, and it's the same reason, like, I find it ridiculous when people want to say, I'm a Republican or I'm a Democrat. I'm like, you all sound equally dumb to me because you're here. It's the same reason I didn't like gangs as a kid. It's like if we're homies and and you rape somebody's sister, I got beef with this other guy now. Like,
right.
I don't like or whatever. Like there's all that stuff where you're accepting the responsibility of everybody else that's wearing that flag. Mm-hmm. So you got to be careful of what kind of fucking cult you want to get into, right?
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's it about that. But I think the thing about relationships is that we are told a lie as kids. of get the right person, get the picket fence and some Jesus, and you're gonna be okay. And then I've lived through that lie of knowing what, because I look at results. I go, well, I'm looking at all your shit telling me how to do it, and you guys clearly are not. You're missing some things.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at life is, for a lot of people, myself included, something I have to fight against, is this aversion to responsibility and to being responsible for oneself. Why don't we all love it if some caretaker was going to swoop through and be like, you know what, kid, I'm going to show you how to do business, and I got $1 million. I think I'm going to invest in you because I like the heart in you. I just see that spark, with zero reason to merit that kind of thinking, right? We'd love that. That's like a fantasy. But this aversion to responsibility is a way of chaos. And so the only way to really adopt a full centered rootedness in my life is to have full responsibility for my life. If I'm trying to get my happiness, my feel goods, whatever from you, then I'm remiss. What do we have to have in our money? What do we know reduces chaos a lot of the way? Money. And if you've never been poor, you probably are like, oh, that's fucking whatever. Well, try being poor.
Yeah.
Having money takes care of a lot of issues. And so if I'm not looking at developing and really mastering my craft, whatever that is, let alone if I haven't found my craft yet that I want to master, and I want to go and fuck around and make people and have a fucking spouse and all that, that's fucking insane amount of workload I'm putting on, and I'm going to have to make allowances. And then what I see happen is then I blame the kids. And I say, well, I would have had a life except for. And so there's all these things that, and I see people do it with girlfriends. I mean, people do it all over the place. At what point do I press pause or alter the trajectory of my life because another human unit is just on another course, but I'm not strong enough in my own disposition to own what I want and to fucking really grab it and be like, I'm going to take responsibility for my life and go to this thing. And so tell me a different story. I don't see many.
That's so good. Hey, thank you so much for fucking doing the show, man.
Hey, I love it, man. Thank you guys. I'm glad that you bear with me. I appreciate it.
No,
you were amazing.
Dude, yeah, that was fucking great. I miss you. I want to see you soon. I'm gonna make more LA trips.
Right here?
Oh, who's
That's my boy.
Oh my God, Hank,
15 years old.
Holy shit!
Look at that guy.
Is he a boxer? What is he?
He is what we would call a New Mexico purebred, and he might be like part Catahoula hound and some I don't know, dingo Labrador. He's a rich mix. I found him wandering the desert when I figure he's like 8 months to a year and a half, but I've had him for 14 years now.
No way.
Wait. Hold on, real quick. This was the fucking Tom Machete thing. You found you just brushed by this insane. This is the Tom Machete thing.
Yeah,
brushed by this insane thing. You found him wandering in the desert.
Listen, he's asleep right now, and I don't know if I can tell our whole story. There's bodies involved and everything else, but maybe next time.
Okay. And also, this is why everybody subscribe to the YouTube channel. You'll get to see Hank. And maybe evidence. All right. I love you, buddy. Thank you for doing this.
Love you too, man. Thank you, guys. Pleasure, and look forward to hearing it.
All right. Talk soon. Bye.
Peace.
Thank you, Tait Fletcher. Holy shit. I'm going to be honest with you. We're about to interview him after we record this show. So I'm going to say, holy shit, I hope that was good. It could have just been Tait calling us fucking pussies for like a half an hour. And I'm like, what a guy.
That'd be awesome anyways. I'd re-listen to that.
Well, then you should hear a phone call that me and Tait had in real life when I was just like, I met a girl and want to have a family. And he was like, hey. He like literally suddenly was like Tait. Like we were texting and then suddenly on my phone it said Tait Fletcher is calling. And I was like, well, this isn't good. This isn't good at all. So thank you to Tait Fletcher. Support him and all he does. And also you can support Origin Main. So we try to make our commercials funny so you guys don't fast forward and weird and offensive. But Drew and I were actually talking off the air about this company, and again, what they're doing for jiu-jitsu, bringing high quality gis to the sport, but also making it so, yeah, it's not fucking like a bunch of just shoddily made slave labor overseas bullshit. The jobs are made in America, which is really important. The economy is trash right now, and a lot of jobs do go overseas. And so to support a company that's doing something like this is awesome. If you are familiar with Jocko and his podcast, or you've heard him on Joe Rogan, you'll also know that there are a bunch of other products, the tea he sells, the supplements he sells. There's so much fucking great stuff over at originmain.com, and you can get a discount by using promo code RearNaked, which adds up. I mean, I would buy everything on that website.
Yeah, for sure. They have these new boots they've been really pushing that just about everybody I talk to about Origins, like, have you got the boots? So I really got to get the boots.
Oh, interesting. We got to get the boots. If you're listening, people from Origin, we need boots. My boots right now, I mean, they've lasted for 10 years. And they're fake leather because they're like vegetarian or whatever. But because it's me, they're also super preachy, where the brand name is just called Vegetarian Shoes. So like the hook. So like when I used to train at Marcelo's, everyone knew they were my shoes because it would just say like vegetarian, I'm better than you on the shoes. And then, but I feel like Jocko's shoes are probably made out of ISIS.
They're made out of ISIS pelts.
ISIS pelts. Okay, so we, Drew and I, really want to be focused on you guys. Besides getting an amazing guest, I'm DMing with Craig Jones. I'm not going to tell you where me and Craig Jones are hanging out until it's happened already. But
so you can't be talked out of it, or what?
No. So people can't get pissed off, and that it'll be too late. And also people can't creep on us.
Sure.
But where me and Craig Jones are hanging for the first time we've ever hung out is Drew knows. It's fucking incredible. And there will 100% be stories to go along with it. So yeah, so Craig, after our first live show, which is next week in Alabama, you can go to 10th Planet Huntsville. It's cheaper if you go now and get it. You'll get to learn Marcelo Garcia shit from me, reverse Kimura shit from Drew, and then we're going to do a live podcast with Eli Knight and BMAC. So separately, if it was just a live podcast or if it was just a live or just a seminar, it would be worth the money and all that stuff. But you're getting both for one price, which is really cool. And you also get insights from Eli, who has like the biggest jiu-jitsu YouTube channel, and BMAC,
for sure.
I'm sure you guys all follow on Instagram. So that's fucking the weekend after Valentine's Day.
Yeah, you can't get much more for your money for that. It's like, I paid a lot more for seminars where I got a lot less. I'm not going to drop any names, but I've been to some big name seminars where I got fuck all out of it.
Yeah.
You're going to get fuck lots out of this.
Can we press pause so you can tell me the names? Because I'm just like, who? Guys, it was John Jones. He just showed you how to evade the police, which I found worthwhile. But that's just me. That decision last night was fucking weird. Anyway, the other thing I was going to say, Valentine's Day, speaking of weird hangouts with Craig Jones, I'm going to see Joey Diaz.
Oh.
And I'm going to try. I'm going to try to get him on this podcast. He's been like the most requested.
What's going to happen is you're going to see Joey Diaz and he's going to dose you. And then we're going to talk about it afterwards on the podcast.
Yeah. Hey, guys, I have a lot of stories.
They involve dragons.
Yeah. Drew and I got run out of Alabama. Then I did something secret with Craig Jones. And then Joey Diaz drugged me. It's been quite a month for old Jamie. So, yeah, those are all the announcements I have.
Cool. We got some questions, yeah.
And they're good. And again, Drew and I talked about it. Besides just the guests we're trying to get to make the show like the highest quality. And can we announce now what we're doing in Miami?
Yeah, I believe we can. It's officially official, right?
We got our fucking flights. Well, even if it's not official, it's like, all right, well, you guys
for vacation.
You guys just flew us to do nothing. That happened to me once in New York.
No. I
got flown to New York to do press, and then the producer was like, yeah, we'll get to it. And we just didn't do anything. So I'm like, I guess I'm in New York for free. And I just went and just ate a bunch of fucking food, and I trained with like Jake Shields and Gary, and then
nice.
I literally got flown to train with them. And then so anyway, fucking Subversive.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a sick ass show too. We're gonna post some of the promo videos that they've done that are
Oh my
just
God.
top quality. I'm actually as excited as I am nervous for how talented these people are. Like, to call their fights and to talk about them live is going to be something else.
We're doing commentary.
Yeah.
Not only are we going down there to do interviews and stuff, but fucking Drew and I are making our debut, and it's all people we love. It's like Boogie and fucking Geo against Cyborg's team. Like, it's gonna be so fucking dope. I'm gonna go like what's his name? Not Murillo Santana. Who does the commentary? He does it for WWE.
Oh,
NXT,
Moro.
Bellator. Yeah. Apparently, he just has like the most insane amount of notes. I'm gonna take this deadly serious. But I'm also going to pick one fighter to unjustly call a sex offender and just pretend to be outraged the whole time. Just be like, I don't know how he's still. I mean, it's fine, I guess. No, I'll call the fight.
So, word to the fighters first before you get there: become tight friends with Jamie, because one of you is going to get.
Follow me on Instagram. If you're
really bad.
subversive and you don't follow me on Instagram, you might be called a sex offender on Flow. Now, look. Geo already follows me on Instagram. We talk all the time. His brother does not follow me on Instagram. Just saying. I'm just throwing that out there. Boogie is a very big and imposing man. Anyway, so do your best.
Coming up on the podcast.
Also coming up on the podcast. Do not bring this up to him, anybody. But everybody follow me on Instagram at the Jamie Kilstein. Okay. Let's get the questions.
Yeah, we've got some questions that we usually throw up a story or two to sort of have you drop us questions, but this time they were sent preemptively through the DMs, which is nice. We're getting the fans reaching out on their own accord.
Some would say aggressively.
Yeah. I'm not going to show the pictures that they sent.
Yeah. But nonetheless, we'll just say they would have me saying things about you during Subversive. Oh, what I wanted to say real quick. Sorry. Subversive, it's in Miami. It's the first weekend of April. Not only is it the coolest jiu-jitsu event, but I talked to
Michael
or one of the founders. I don't know how it works, and what they are trying to do for jiu-jitsu, for CBD, for marijuana, for there's a reason it's called Subversive, and there's also a reason that Drew and I wanted that to be our first event together, because obviously jiu-jitsu Miami, it's going to be fucking incredible, but we also support what they stand for and what they're trying to build. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. And you can follow them on Instagram. Their Instagram is
Subversive with no E at the end. It just ends with a V.
Yeah. Why do all of these places make it so hard? It's like follow SUPERARE, but it's with no vowels. It's like, why? Okay, questions.
Yeah. So this first one, I'm going to get through, and then it kind of ties into the second one in a kind of a weird way, but there's some politics involved, just so trigger warning for people who are currently dealing with politics in the gym.
That's me, by the way. I now assume that both emails are about the other emailer. Like the second email starts with, what the fuck that motherfucker say? And then it's just like the fight.
That would be amazing.
Let's do it.
It says, hi, Drew. I was hoping you could talk about what it's like to open a BJJ school. I have aspirations myself to open a school one day. Right now, I help run a Gracie garage. So good for you to start off with. You're already trying to get into the teaching mentality, which is really important before you open a school. Don't just think because you can do jiu-jitsu, you can teach jiu-jitsu. That's the thing you got to learn.
It's so different.
Yeah. And, but the problem is, he says, well, first of all, he's asking, is it important to have a following of guys before you start a space? Yes, definitely. You don't want to be dealing with the bills that brick and mortar place are going to impose on you if you don't have anybody yet who's paying you. So the way I started was in a community center. I just rented their gym by the hour for a few times a week, built up my student base, and then once I had enough, I moved it into a brick and mortar place. And I don't think I could have done it otherwise.
Did you try to recruit at like AA meetings that were meeting there? You're like, hey, you know what'll help you guys stay off the sauce? Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. And to continue on, this is the part that is kind of ties into the second person's question. He says, how do you deal with opening a school that could be competition, in quotations, to the professor you respect and don't want to offend?
Take him out. fucking
Yeah,
sweep the
murder.
leg.
Simple murder.
Yeah, bury him, and laugh from the window of your prestigious gym as his children are outside begging for food.
So
Jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu. Gentle art. I read that as it's your professor that you're worried about offending. So this is something you're going to have to talk to him about. But in the long run, he really has no say over what you want to do for a career. And for someone to want to stop you from doing what you love as a job, to stop working in whatever 9 to 5 you're stuck in while you want to be doing jiu-jitsu, just because they have a school, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, that's a great answer, man. Because I didn't know how I was going to answer this. And you want to do everything. I've been in situations like this. And you want to do everything above board and give them the option to not be a dick. So
Yes.
don't go into it being super aggressive and hype yourself up, even mentally, by being like, all right, by thinking he's going to be pissed off, and by being like, all right, I'm going to fucking tell him that I can do what I want. And don't do that. Go into it being as kind, appreciative as possible. And yeah, like Drew said, explain this is your dream, this is your goal. Now, maybe there's a way you could even do it together if that's what you want. But there also are, and that's me being like best case scenario, sweet Jamie. But there's also most schools I meet, when you're like, hey, how'd you start this gym? They're like, oh, there was kind of some drama. I was at this other place. And I get my black belt too. Yeah. And you're like, so that might happen. But if that does happen, you have to go with what Drew said. You're not trying to undercut anybody. You're not trying to hurt anyone. And this is why I gave that fucking speech a couple weeks ago about how it's bullshit that places and tournaments don't pay us more, because there are a lot of gym owners that'll try to take advantage of you. That'll be like, hey, you can use the name of my gym, and you end up making like an hourly wage. And then a lot of those school owners, instead of being like, well, I don't want to do that to people, they do the same thing to their students. And so all you can do is try to create the most positive, best school you can, and then just kind of, I don't know, forget about it. Just forget that gym fucking exists if you have to do it.
Yeah, their story doesn't have to be tied to yours in any way. So if it's a negative split, just start fresh. And one thing I was going to say, well, Jamie was talking, it kind of he reminded me of, is your instructor dealt with the same thing. Guaranteed. He had an instructor where he was the student once, and then he wanted to go out and make a school. So this is something that's not going to be new to him. It's probably something that he expects. So
yeah, that's a really good point. You don't like emerge from the woods in like a very like Superman-esque scene and being like, I must start a jiu-jitsu school. Like, he came from somewhere, and that person came from somewhere, and that person came from one of Helio Gracie's 2,000 children
and 8,000 wives.
Or
was it Carlos with all the wives? I don't know. So this leads to the second question, which was from a different person in a different DM, but somewhat similar.
Motherfucker wants to leave my gym, start his own fucking school like a bit. Doesn't he know what I did for him?
That's probably him. No, this guy is a blue belt. So first of all, kudos for not quitting.
Good job not quitting.
That's right. That's like 9 out of 10 that don't.
The old blue belt low bar. Good job for not quitting, you bitch.
Says, hey Drew, podcast question for you from a blue belt who recently switched academies for a change of scenery. I'm feeling a little bit of weird tension with my previous gym owner. Seems like clients should be able to switch like any fitness facility, but BJJ is somehow different.
Did I write this?
Would love to hear you and Jamie's thoughts on this. Yeah. So why don't you start this one off, Jamie?
No. Sure. I've been here a lot because I move. I move a lot, and my life is kind of hectic, and it's weird and stupid. Let me give advice to people who would make someone feel bad for leaving gyms. Don't do that.
That's a good way to do that.
Don't do that. Jiu-jitsu, man, the fact that I still have people from Marcelo's school, or I was just texting Michelle Williams from LA, who I used to work for, and like I quit, like we could be not good. And the fact that I can still text them and consider them friends and family is like, that is the best of jiu-jitsu. If you're going to make someone feel guilty because they feel, look, there are so many reasons you could leave a gym, and those reasons have to be respected. Sometimes I go to a gym and I love the coach, but I get a bad vibe from the students, which also probably means there's something there like underneath with the coach.
Yep.
Sometimes I go to a place and maybe like the coach is like checked out. Sometimes it's just a distance thing. You know, right now I had to switch gyms because until I got a car in April, I'm borrowing my buddy's car, and it is like a miracle it hasn't broken down already. So I'm like, I need to find a gym closer to me. And by the way, I love the gym, and it's a gi gym, something that I also am not used to. And I'm like, oh, this, as much as I hate the gi, I'm like, this is going to make me better at jiu-jitsu. So like, maybe I'll stay longer than I planned. Like, there are so many personal reasons. And, you know, someone told me there's a Marcelo Garcia affiliate in Tucson, and why am I saying this? But it's fine. And his name is Aaron, the instructor, and he's so wonderful. And he just goes, hey man, I know you have a lot of like drama and like your other lives and shit like that. And he's like, I just want you to know, if you train here, like, I don't expect you to like post about this place, and like, this place can just be your fucking sanctuary. And I was just like, oh my God, what a wonderful human being.
How is it that that's a weird thing though, right? I think that's what we're kind of getting at. Like,
yes,
he was saying like, you can
that
switch fitness facilities and their owners don't get all bitchy about it. Your clients, right?
Yeah. You don't have the person from Curves fucking like
hey, I thought we were cool, bro.
What you getting from Planet Fitness?
Yeah, what's wrong with our squats? You think their squats are better?
Yeah. Oh, Curves is just a bunch of fat people. You're probably, and it's just like, everyone chill the fuck out. Where it's like, if everything you say, if you're a gym owner, if everything you say at sign up, hey man, this isn't just jiu-jitsu, it's family. If you're not completely full of shit, then you should root for whatever will make that person's, I'm going to say jiu-jitsu better. You know what I mean? And like, sure, you're losing a paying customer, but I thought this wasn't about money. I thought this was about jiu-jitsu. And as a business owner, that should also inspire you to be like, what could I have done better to hold on to that guy? Cool. I'm going to go get 3 more to make up for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. At the end of the day, we are all doing it because we love it. And like you said, he was looking for a change of scenery. So you can't really hold that against the guy.
Yeah, and you can't stay somewhere that you don't want to be because you feel bad. You know, I talked about on my podcast today, on the Jamie Kilstein podcast, about how being alone is okay. And I'm really focusing so much on just being confident and like not doing shit for other people, because eventually you'll end up resenting them, and then you're going to leave on not great terms. And also, if they give you shit for leaving, all that did was prove that your intuition was right.
Yeah,
and that you should have left.
I was going to say something similar to that. It's some advice to gym owners. If you have people that are leaving on those types of terms, maybe look at yourself, because you could be the one that's driving them away. If you're the one that has those crazy gi policies, if you're the ones that has those crazy no cross training rules, that you know, well, guess what somebody wants to do then? They're like, why can't I cross train? I'm gonna go cross train. See what? Oh, I like cross training. Okay, so I'm gonna go over there now because they're okay with it.
Instead you're just gonna like shit talk that it's the blue belt's fault that like your gym is faltering. It's like, guys, like, look, we're all human and we all fuck up, but we have to learn from our mistakes. And if we don't learn from our mistakes, we're not going to evolve, and we're going to keep making the same mistakes over and over again. And the last thing I'd say, because we kind of just shit on shitty gym owners, but what I would say to the person who wrote in is, thanks for writing in, follow me on Instagram. And I would also say that my brother said something to me, that has stuck with me, where I bought like concert tickets, and last minute I'm like, I don't really want to go. And my brother called, and I was like, I have this concert ticket, but like, I don't want to waste the money. And I'm like, I don't want to go. Like, I'd rather stay home or whatever. And he was like, the money's already gone. So why would you fuck yourself over twice and go do something you don't want to do? Like, you're not getting the money back. And that, like, you know, granted, there are times where you get up and you make yourself do a thing and you're better for it, and so on. But that was so interesting to me, where it's like, you've already made the decision, so enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason you're gonna have someone be mean to you and then you're gonna go back to them. Like, that's so gross.
Yeah, so avoid that at all costs. Guys, thanks for sending in these questions. We gotta get going to actually we're doing this all backwards. We're recording Tait in like 5 minutes here, so
and then we're gonna insert it. But you can follow Drew on Instagram at because_jitsu. Follow
sounds
me.
like you're selling knives. Jitsu.
Follow me at the Jamie Kilstein. Send us in questions. We're also going to try to do a live chat next week with all of you guys, so you can tell us what you want to see in the show, the guests you want to see. So Drew will announce that, and we'll both jump on because it'll be really cool to talk to you guys. We haven't done that yet.
And send in your suggestions for what your gang is called. What are we going to call you guys?
Oh my God. Yeah, totally. The only suggestion I've got was a very adorable one who saw my Muppet Jiu Jitsu tattoo. And she was like, what about Muppets? And I'm like, well, I love it, but it's probably
all the British people take offense. All the Muppets.
Yeah. What about the cunts? It's like, no. They just use that word in
Aussies
Australia.
like that.
They like that. Everyone else, there will be no women listening to the show anymore.
So Craig, no more suggestions.
Yeah, sorry, Craig. So we'll do that. Be on the lookout for Drew's Reverse Kimura series. JamieKilsteinPodcast.com for my daily podcast, which just starting to blow up, which is great. I also have a bunch of live stand-up dates. But the first thing is Alabama.
That's right. Couple weeks.
Yeah, and then Stress Factory, New Jersey for me in New Brunswick with Jeff Dye the last weekend of. I'm gonna try to hang out with Tom or Gary. I don't know how far their schools are, but anyway. And then Craig Jones, Jake Shields, Boogie, a bunch of fucking crazy guests coming up.
Awesome. See you later, guys.
Bye.